Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with another episode of Modern on a Budget. Today we're going to be focusing on burn. And burn is probably going to change a lot in the next couple of months due to Gatecrash having some pretty good burn cards, one being Boros Charm and one being Skullcrack. And so you might actually see a Boros burn deck come into existence because of Boros Charm is that powerful. But right now, burn is pretty straightforward. You either have the mono red version that is more creature heavy based, and then you have the black version that splashes in black for Bump of the Night and a few other cards. Sometimes you see like Dark Confidant being played in burn, and another good card that burn uses for Dark Burn is Reign of Gore, which this guy for some reason is not using, and I am questioning why. He's using Blightning. I haven't ever used Blightning in burn. It does seem okay, but you don't really care about how many cards your opponent has in hand. And if I were to make a recommendation to this deck, I would cut the Blightnings for Reign of Gore. Reign of Gore is a 2-mana enchantment. Whenever your opponent gains a life, you lose a life. And as you can see, I'll link this video here that I played against the Dark Burn deck with Soul Sisters, and Reign of Gore wrecked me. I had no answer for it. I think I did end up squeezing out a win because I did have Leyline of Sanctity on board that he couldn't deal with, and I was able to take the game just by swinging in with creatures. I don't know if one game is Reign of Gore did beat me or not, but we'll have to check that video out. But Reign of Gore is an auto-include in Dark Burn. I do not know why it is not in this deck. Now we'll just go down the list of here. You have the staples in this deck are usually Lightning Bolt, Lava Spike, Bump in the Night, and Flames of the Bloodhand. And Flames of the Bloodhand probably will be either replaced or incorporated with Skullcrack when Skullcrack comes out. And then you have a bunch of burn spells of your choice that you can use. Rift Bolt is a good one. This is a personal favorite of mine. Incinerate's another one I like. It's just 3 for 3. And then there's Searing Blaze. I personally don't like Searing Blaze, as of course you have to have the fetch lands to make Searing Blaze work, but you also a lot of times there just isn't a target for it, and either you want to cast it when you don't have landfall, or they don't have a target for it to actually be decent for landfall when you do have landfall. So I usually, if I do run Searing Blazes, they're in the sideboard. I never run them main board. And another card I sometimes don't like is Shard Volley. It's a lightning bolt that you have to sack a land. And sometimes you don't need that land, but sometimes I'm sitting with Shard Volleys in my hand and I cannot afford a land. There of course is many other cards like Flame Javelin, 4 damage for 3. Trying to think of some other cards that people use as far as the burn package. The Magna Jet, the Scry, 2 damage in Scry, because Scry can then get rid of any lands that might have been. It has Scry 2, so you can get rid of any of the cards on top of your library that you may not have liked. Another card that is getting quite popular in the Dark Burn is actually, for creatures, is actually our good old buddy Deathrite Shaman. That's the name of it, because the Deathrite Shaman's secondary ability of exiling an instant or sorcery and opponent losing 2 life is very powerful, just like Grim Lavamancer. So you can run a combination of Grim Lavamancers and Deathrite Shaman. Another auto include usually for creatures is Goblin Guide. Very, very good card. Haster for 2/2, can't go wrong with that. And of course, this deck does run very few lands, and it ideally does run the fetch lands, but you don't absolutely need them. You can actually run like Black Cleave Cliffs just fine, and just mountains and maybe a couple Blood Crypts, and the deck works okay. The great thing about burn is you have so many sideboard options. There's like Smash to Smithereens that you can run against Affinity. There's Molten Rain that you can run against Tron and Cloudpost. Of course, Rakdos Charm is another great card that you can use against any sort of graveyard recursion deck. This particular one is using Ensnaring Bridge. It's okay. It sometimes can work good against certain decks, and he's using Blightning, and again I've already explained why I don't use Blightning. So just pretty straightforward deck. You're trying to do as much damage as possible in 4 or 5 turns for the win. You have a lot of other creature options. There is Vexing Devil. I personally don't like Vexing Devil, but Vexing Devil in Modern, I guess, is pretty powerful as they can't afford either option. They can't afford a 4/3 to hit the board, or they can't afford 4 damage. In Standard, absolutely hate Vexing Devil. I think it's an awful card. I'd rather play any 1-drop over it. I'd rather play a what's that lizard out of Ravnica, the 1 mana with 2 mana fire breathing. That's how much I hate Vexing Devil. I'd rather play that dude than Vexing Devil. Anyway, back to the cards. There's Keldon Marauders. Keldon Marauders is a 2 mana for a 3/3 with what's that? Vanishing 2, I believe. So it's got 1 turn to stay. It has 1 turn to swing, but it does 1 damage to target creature player when it comes into play, and 1 damage when it goes out of play. So ideally, you can get 5 damage out from Keldon Marauders. Then there's like Hellspark Elemental, 3/1 haste or trampler with Unearth. And then, of course, there's Spark Elemental of 3/1 haste trample for just 1 that are other options for your red creatures. There's a few other I may have missed. Some people actually like Plated Geopede. Some people like... There are a few other cards like even Ember Hauler I have seen make deck lists before, but it's kind of weak in Modern. So that's just the gist of the deck. There are, like I said, there are other burn cards that maybe I'll scroll down here, see if we can find another burn list real quick. There's another burn list. Okay, so he's using Vexing Devils, Hellspark Elemental, Spark Elemental here, and again, this is the dark burn version. Dragon's Claw, I don't know. I personally wouldn't run that. Molten Rain is usually an auto-include in Rain of Gore in my sideboard. I usually run both of those. And I do like Smash to Smithereens as well against the different artifact decks. So Sudden Shock is getting quite popular because it is split second and your opponent can't do anything. So it's good against like Merfolk and stuff because they can't counter it. That's just the gist. So there you go. Some people here's a version without any fetch lands. Just Black Leafs and Dragon Skulls. Both are very cheap. Teetering Peaks as well, because he does have quite a few creatures. I'm not the biggest fan of Teetering Peaks. And again, I don't think there's anything new here as far as burn. This is a more creature-heavy base deck. And here's a... Nope, that's not another one. That's not burn. Let's see if we can find one more burn here. Nope, no burn here. Let's back out of here. Let's find another Modern Daily. See if there's one on here real quickly. Okay, of course you can go and always check these deck lists out at www.mtgonline.com, and they'll have all the recent tournament winners that went 4-0 and 3-1, and also they do their Premier and PTQ qualifiers, so you can see the different decks that are doing well. I would say that Burn is more a 4-0 and 3-1 deck than an actual huge tournament. I really wouldn't run Burn at a big tournament, as you are going to come across a deck that you have a horrible matchup against and just lose. It is inevitable, but it's a great deck that you can run it like when F&M switches over to Modern, and those will be like a 4-rounder. You can definitely run Burn at a 4-rounder and win the whole tournament. That happens all the time. I used to run Burn quite religiously on MTGO as it was cheap. I picked it up for nothing, and it could go 4-0 quite easily. And that was the deck that I used in the Modern Dailies, was Burn, and I had good success with it. So here's what I'm talking about. Here's another card I love in the new Burn decks is Ash Zealot. There actually are quite a few Graveyard Reanimation, Recursion, Lingering Souls decks out there that you get that extra 3 damage value out of Ash Zealot. And a 2/2 haster for Striker for 2 is great. Can't go wrong with it. This one uses Goblin Guide and, like I said, Deathrite Shaman instead of Grim Lavamancer. This person feels that even though he's not using any sort of green source, he's still just using it for the second ability of exiling an instant or sorcery. And you can actually use Deathrite Shaman to ramp as well if you need to. I actually like Anathemancer. It's a great card against like Jund. Basically, when he comes into play, he deals damage equal to how many non-basic lands they have, and Jund could have like 4 or 5 out when you drop this dude. And he's got an Earth as well for 7 mana. That could happen eventually. Say Jund is playing more of a version where Hand Disruption, and you remove any sort of say Dark Confidence or any other sort of card advantage. You do go late game, this guy can actually finish him off. Same with the Bump in the Night. You'd actually be surprised at how much you use the Flashback and Unearth with these guys. I like this card a lot. Cool inclusion. See if he's using anything different. Nope, seems like pretty much straightforward stuff here. Dark Confidence on the side. Molten Rain. What's this dude? Oh, this is a pretty fun tech, but a little hard to get off, especially with fetch lands making it an odd number. But I guess you can always catch up with Lightning Bolt. But that's kind of funny. Yeah, they are at 10 life. You can kill them. So once again, that's just the gist of Burn. Very straightforward. It's a very good deck for a new player to test out, as there aren't a lot of decisions you have to make. You basically just burn them. That's it. Like this one. That's cool. Ball of Lightning. Ball of Lightning I haven't seen in a long time. Seems like it could work okay. And there's Keldon Marauders. If you haven't had a look at it yet. I think I've explained everything else here. Inquisition Guest, that's kind of a weird inclusion. Forked Bolt, that you see that every once in a while. I guess it does kill 2 Lingering Souls, and then you can continue to swing with these guys, but it's pretty straightforward. Anyway, this is Kevin from RogueDeckBuilder.com reviewing Burn. Once again, this deck is going to change with Gatecrash. I am definitely going to look forward to a Boros list. I'm going to resurrect my Boros Burn with good old Lightning Helixes and Boros Charms, and probably play the Plated Geopede and Step Links version as get the most out of landfall as possible. This is Kevin from RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.